back to another episode of This Week in ZA, where we dive into the world of software engineering over a fresh sliced pizza. I'm Kodat, here with my co-host Chad. And every week we sit down with a guest from the software industry and talk about projects, culture, and everything in between. So, while enjoying some good pizza. Today's guest is Ann, principal engineer. Today we're eating the Mighty Meaty from Mellow Mushroom Pizza. So stick around to hear some advice, catch a laugh or two, get up shenanigans, maybe end a little bit hungry. Let's get into it.
All right, Ann. Known you quite a while.
Do I get to eat pizza first?
No, we do.
Yeah, we eat pizza
okay.
while you start talking.
The whole thing's about us getting to eat pizza
Yeah,
and listening to someone.
you misunderstood why you're here.
Yes. So the start, other than this podcast, what is your biggest mistake? And by biggest, can be biggest or funniest. That's what we want.
How long
first.
do we have?
We want these to be less than 30 minutes. As an
Okay.
absolute top.
Okay, so you did say funniest.
Yes.
So and assuming we're sticking with software-ish.
Preferably, unless you have a really funny story, like Bill had some good ones.
Bill and Michael had some good non-software
Yeah.
stories.
Okay.
Michael's involved in gun. Bill's
True.
involved
Diarrhea.
Mine involves neither.
Okay. You
Actually,
gotta try to
Chad.
top them.
Oh, I don't know if I can top them. But Chad, you were around for this one.
Oh, good.
So, Chad and I worked on a project together for a long time, many years. And it had a bunch of different modules, and it had these maps. And one of the things that we had to do with the modules on the maps is you had to have different color schemes for each module for the dots and the lines that would show up on the maps. And the tricky part with maps, as you remember, is that there are a lot of green and blues, and so finding colors was hard. And then we'd always have like a yellow for the highlight, so you couldn't use the yellow. So we had a new module, and so I was like, hey, what color are we gonna use? I'll go build that out. So I didn't get an answer. No problem, I'll keep working. Asked again and again and again. Finally I said, hey, you know what? I'll just pick a color. And so I picked the gaudiest pink and purple possible, with the thought that there's no way we'll shift this. You remember this. So we shipped it. But as it turns out, pink and purple look really good on a map.
They show up well.
They do show up well. And years later, the pink and purple were legendary to the point that, so the lore now is that if you ask Ann to design something, it's going to be pink.
Oh.
That's where that comes from.
Is this okay? I've heard you suggest pink a lot of times. I thought
Yes.
you just really like pink.
No.
Okay.
No, it's because I shipped it.
Okay. That's a pretty good one.
Actually, pink and purple in software aren't used very much. I think they should be a little bit more used, and they do show really well. They do have a lot of contrast versus certain other things. So in that situation, they actually weren't horrible.
It did work out.
It's way better than green.
It was better than green. We already had 3 shades of green as it was. So,
Do you see a lot of pink in IntelliSense or anything like that? Like in dark mode by default? VS or Writer?
don't tell people I don't use dark mode.
We can edit that out.
Okay, new biggest mistake now. I'm
Oh,
also.
I should have led with that one.
Yeah, I know. But I also remember one similar. We one time created a feature that kind of had a, kind of my personal opinion, crazy name, Super Complete. We put it in there,
Gosh,
assumed it was going to
yes.
get ripped out, and we kept asking people, "What do you want to call it?" And it shipped as Super Complete.
Yeah,
And
I might
still
have
remember
clicked that button.
had to be like. Now we have to explain what the word super complete means. Kind of a word that's difficult to
That's not a
understand.
real word.
It's not a, yeah, it's
We should have
confusing.
trademarked it.
You know, we should have. I wonder if we can get the domain name.
Super complete. I mean, Riz is in the dictionary now. Anything's possible.
Yeah, anything's
Yeah,
possible.
yeah. Yeah.
So you can have a bite of your pizza. We're eating
Okay.
right now.
Yeah.
So far, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
No complaints by any stretch.
I love meat pizzas. It's one of my favorites. One thought I would have, we've had a lot of we're getting a lot of different flavors of pizzas and things thrown at us, which is good. But I do think a little more heat or something in this one might add a little bit.
I had something spicy.
Oh, you did? Okay.
There might be a little bit of red pepper or sauce or something.
Okay.
If I had to guess, but it's not hot by any
No, maybe something with heat would have been good or something. But
Maybe some like hot honey on it or something.
Ooh, hot honey
And
should
like a
go on
scoop
all
of ricotta
foods.
cheese, and then
Yes.
just pepperoni.
Yeah.
That would have been a
Yeah.
good pizza. But it's solid.
No, it's solid.
No complaints. Usually we let the guest do the first review, so you have to score the pie.
Okay.
But just a quick explanation of the scale.
Oh yeah.
1 or 2 is usually I don't want to finish it.
Okay.
2 to 5-ish is like I'll eat it if I'm hungry, but I'm not gonna finish anything. Anything 5 to 7 range is a good pizza, generally speaking. And then the 8, 9, 10, you're getting into the realm of I'm gonna keep eating even though I'm not hungry. I mean, 10 is like I'm gonna finish it regardless of how it makes me feel at the end because I can't let this not be consumed right now.
We haven't had a 10 yet, have we?
No, the Ramos pepperoni cream cheese was the closest. That came
That
out
was a
like
great pizza.
9.5 on aggregate or something
Yeah.
like that. We have had some low bars.
Some lows.
We have a protein pizza from Blaze was not that great. That was Doug's suggestion. So.
That was a 3 for me. I don't remember what it was for you. That was
I think that one averaged out to like a 4.5. I
Okay.
think you gave it a little bit higher score than that.
really.
I think you and Bill both gave it a pretty decent score in the end.
Okay, I need to go back and change. If we're going to change the score, that's 1. I need to change. But
On the next episode, we're gonna open up the spreadsheet.
actually, maybe that should just be the episode, or maybe not at next one. We should have an episode just where we revisit.
Oh, an
these.
interim.
Yeah, kind of
That's
like
a
a
good idea. Pull up
yeah.
the data, look at it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So,
For our fans.
Probably like in that middle range, like the 5 to 6. Decent pizza. Definitely not going to eat it if I'm like full. But I generally like pizza, and since I have smaller humans in my house, I have a pretty low bar for
Sure.
pizza.
So 5 to 6, 5.5, we'll call it that.
Sure, 5.5.
Usually what I do to people when they put something in the middle, which is fine. I think I'd go with like a 6.2. Like, it's pretty average, I think. The sauce is kind of sweet. The crust is pretty solid, which might be the redeeming factor for me. But yeah, a little bit of heat. Maybe if I put some red pepper flakes on top of it, some parm,
Yeah.
scoop of cream cheese on there would probably push up into the 7, 8 easy.
What's
but
this honey situation you're gonna put on it?
hot honey?
What is that?
It's like honey with hot sauce mixed in there. It's like
It's
cayenne or
amazing.
something. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Blaze has a hot pepperoni pizza, or at least they used to. It's pepperoni and hot honey. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
Very good.
I'm gonna surprise myself because I normally love meat pizzas. They're one of my favorites. I love sausage. Personally, I think almost every meal should have sausage somehow integrated into it because it's so. One time I had a cookbook or some book and it actually called sausage meat perfected. You know, I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. This I'm only gonna go 5. It's not. There's nothing objectionable about it. I will eat it. If someone brought this, oh, it's good pizza. It's very edible.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I think we had Sam's or Costco. We had Costco. We haven't done Sam's yet. And if someone gave me that, I would be just as happy as this.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. It's a very like good pizza by any stretch, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to go pick it up.
Yeah.
There's other pies that I go out of my way.
Yeah.
This might not be one of them.
This would be one of my last, or not last, but there's so many others out there.
Yeah.
First.
Just a good solid pizza.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with
Yeah.
it.
Edible. It is not.
It does have bigger bacon chunks than I tend to see on meat pizza.
That is true.
Which is a positive.
And the appearance of it, and maybe there's a little bit working against it. When you open that pizza, for the kind of the pizza opening shot, I was like, whoa, this is gonna be flat out amazing.
It definitely looks like a pizza called the Mighty Meat.
Yes.
Or Mighty Meat or whatever.
Name is appropriate.
Yeah.
Well named. We're back. We're back. Okay, got some more pizza. Pretty good pizza so far. Just kind of get a sense of how you got into software, why you got into software. Did you wake up one day and think, I really want to work around annoying people like Codad and me? Is that kind of was your goal, or what were you looking for?
What was it looking for? Okay. How I got into it. Maybe we'll start there and hopefully hit some of those things on the way. So as a little kid, I was always into like building puzzles, things like that. So like even from a pretty early age, was always thinking something engineering-y. right? Maybe didn't have the right words to articulate that, but I was like, I want to build stuff, things like that. So then got into middle school, and so I'm pretty nerdy. So I discovered in middle school that you can actually split an atom, which up until that point everyone just told me was the smallest unit of things. This like blew my mind, and so I was all in on science. So like all through middle school, I was like nuclear engineer. That's it. I'm in. Then in high school, I discovered that a lot of the cool nuclear engineering is with the Navy. It's like, I might just not be the Navy kind of person.
Sure, don't like water.
I don't.
Oh, you don't like water?
I really don't. I don't like swimming. Don't like water.
Yeah.
So I was like,
You know how to swim, right?
I know how to swim, but like, yeah, I'll get in
So
the
you would
pool
never
and
go to
But
the
like-
ocean and just go snorkeling?
I mean, not in like the middle of the ocean, like on a barrier reef where you could stand up or something like that. That'd probably be fine. But
Okay.
You've got that phobia where when you can't see the bottom.
yeah, I don't like that.
There's
It's
an
not.
exam.
It's not like a real fear. It's just like a not
Yeah,
really
what do you
big fan.
makes you
The
feel
whole
uneasy about it?
idea, like being on a sub.
Some I think seems no daylight for days. That seems tough.
Yeah.
That does seem
Yeah. And right, that's like not the only career path you can get into energy and things like that. But like a lot of the cool stuff is happening, like kind of in that. Because when I was like getting interested in that, that's when a lot of the nuclear submarines and like that sort of stuff was happening. So I was like, shoot, no nuclear. So then I was like still engineering and kind of playing around in that realm, and then finally got to my senior year. I was like, well, I have to decide something. So I actually was like, okay, I'll do computer engineering, which is not software. It's kind of like the bridge between software and hardware. But I was like, if I get into computers, I can do anything. Like software and computers are so integrated into our lives that it was really a deferring tactic.
Like a gateway profession.
Yeah, it's like, I'll just do this and then I can get into whatever I want to later. So then in college I learned a few things about myself. I'm really bad at circuits, so the hardware piece did not pan out. I really didn't want to build compilers, but like the software side, I was like, okay, this is pretty okay. Also at that point, I thought I was going to be a professor. I was like, academia, this is it. I'm going to do research, I'm going to teach people. I'm going to change the world through like influencing young minds and all of that. I got to my senior year and I was like, no, I could not live in this world for the rest of my life. I'd taken a few grad classes, and that was about the time I was like, ugh, like this research is really important, but it will drive me crazy not being able to just like fix things or do things or build things. So I got kind of back into that engineering mindset, and so at that point I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get a job and do this for a while and then see where we go from there. And then at that point it was really just luck. Met a guy named Steve Keen, who we both know. You know Steve.
No,
Yeah.
Steve.
And he's like, hey, we're starting this company, you should come work for us. I was like, well, I don't really have much to lose, so sure. And so then that's how I first met Chad and got into things. And it was really like getting into industry. Like you sat down with me like my first week and like we started building out a solution. And like so many of those concepts that we talked about in college, I was like, oh, like it finally clicked. Like after I graduated, after I did the degree, I was like, oh, this is what this means. And then like from then on I was hooked. I was like, oh, I actually just want to build software.
I still remember, and I don't think that this may be a little bit of, this is a long time ago, Michael, a long time. But I remember
Don't make people think I'm old.
you jumped in and you handled all the build stuff
Yeah, I'd never done that.
for all the stuff.
I don't know what that says about you for trusting me
Yeah.
to do that.
But you did a great job. You were always on top of it,
Yeah.
kind of figuring it out. And someone kind of had to figure out, because at that point we were jumping into Team City, is that what we were doing?
Mhm.
We were moving from TFS to Team City for a lot of that build. There was a lot to learn, and it was a lot of new stuff that required someone to be on top of and figure out. It was not a click a button and just do it. It's still not that way today, but it was way more back then.
But like, when you have to set up like that build server and like figure out how the code gets from
Oh,
your
yeah.
machine into the world, it was like all the stars aligned, and I was like, oh, this is how this all works. This is how this is all integrated. This is how these things talk to each other. And then from then on, I was hooked.
Yeah, and actually you also kind of took the lead, and it was probably 6 months, a year later, we spent a lot of time redoing how we do all our build stuff. To make it way more automated. I mean, we had the ability to do a ton of stuff that many solutions still don't have today. We could upgrade individual customers if we wanted. That whole solution, we kind of took the lead on creating that as well, which was really cool.
One of the things I've enjoyed most about working with you is your drive to kind of push us to rethink how we approach software. And you've done a lot of that through the experiment documentation, right? So I'm curious, of the experiments that we've completed or gotten close to complete, what would you say is the most successful? And
Gosh.
what would you say that we could spread out into the industry through this podcast easily that we learned from that experiment?
Wow. I mean, we did have the meta experiment, which was the experiment of do experiments work?
Sure.
That seems to have been successful. We are experimenting. But I don't think that's your question.
I mean, that could work. Like, encourage people to push their boundaries and rethink how they're approaching things and document and discuss.
Yeah, and we've done a great job of, and I think the nuance that's so important is we've done a great job of not experimenting with like basic engineering practices and principles. Like, we're not gonna mess with information hiding. We're not gonna mess with, how people have engineered things for thousands and thousands of years. But we can experiment with like, hey, is there a different way to schedule meetings that's more efficient? That kind of thing. Man, that's tough. I feel like a lot of our recent ones are how to continue to refine our process around requirements gathering and tracking dependencies. A lot of those are still pretty in flight, but I think that's something that the fact that we're even doing it is leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of folks in the industry. And so, right, we wouldn't set out to build a house without a plan and a design and understanding that, hey, yeah, the foundation should go in first. I think you guys had Bo on a few weeks ago. I'm sure you talked about like how to build houses and things like that.
We also learned what are the best tools.
It's true.
You have to watch that episode to learn. If you want to know, watch the Bo episode.
Okay, which episode number?
That's probably 3, 4.
I was
4.
I was gonna guess 4, but
You think 5?
Because the first one was no guest.
No guest. Doug, Bill.
Jamie, Bo.
Yeah, good job.
okay, watch Bo's episode. But right, so thinking about like having an upfront design in the way that we can respond to change is just core to, like, we're not gonna mess with that, but thinking about, man, are there different ways to write out our requirements? Is there different times where Gherkin is better versus drawing a picture versus tagging something in a mock-up? And so, right, we're doing all of these different things and to continue to iterate and get better at doing that in a way that makes it so we fall in the pit of success and we don't have errors in judgment because it's just clear what we're going to do and what we're going to build and why we're going to do it, both now and the trade-offs we're making for the future. I think that's not the success, but it's like the one in flight that I'm maybe really excited about. And then we have a few different variations around that idea, with a few different people trying a few different things.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Which one do you think has been most successful?
Well, obviously, I'm going to say my team because
Oh yeah,
I've had the most fun doing that, and
that has been very successful
yeah,
too.
it's gotten me involved with training these people that are new and kind of like guiding them.
Yeah,
into
and now you have to
real
describe for
position.
everyone following along at home what the experiment is.
The experiment was a team dedicated to learning and leveling people up,
Yes.
not just brand new hires, but also people who've been in the industry for a while that are joining DPL to learn our rituals and customs and communicate those things and kind of give them a head start by the time they actually get onto a real team. So that way they aren't dragging down the velocity of that team and bogging down the mental capacity of their team lead by that time because they already know some of the basics by the time they get there so they can hit the ground running.
Yeah. And they have no better teacher than Kodak.
Well, I think that about wraps it up. As is tradition at the end of each episode, the guest gets to make a recommendation for the next pizza.
Do you have like a magical list of what's already been suggested, or can I?
We do, it's all in
Pick.
my head at the moment.
Oh, okay. So you'll tell me if I pick the same one.
Yeah, and I think probably the big thing is it has to be somewhat pseudo-local. We're not
Okay.
driving to Kansas City to get anybody to eat the pizza.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I grew up and there was only one pizza place in town. So have you done Pizza Hut yet?
We have not.
Okay.
And which
And-
pizza Pizza Hut?
I mean, growing so nostalgically, the pepperoni stuffed crust was our favorite.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, we haven't had stuffed crust pizza.
I like that.
You know, I don't know if it's a 10, but like, it was solid.
It's a pizza. It's got to be better than the protein pizza. Doug.
Yeah, maybe that's the thing we should be tracking. I think we're very focused on the pizza, the thing. I wonder if we should be focused on the recommender. Maybe that's the real thing we're learning from all of this is who's the best at recommending pizza.
So this is really a podcast about who to trust.
Yes.
How to learn.
We didn't know that.
No pressure. No pressure.
And I do want to point out we still haven't done Bo's.
It's true.
We still need to pick his up. Because I do think his might be interesting. It's kind of like it's out of a gas station, which I think is
Oh.
kind of a bonus.
Interested.
Yeah.
I did notice that for the next episode we are not going to be getting Valentine or Pizza Hut.
Okay.
So we're going to have another guest have a recommendation. So we're going to have 3 potential pizzas. For anyone listening trying to guess what their pizza is going to be as the next guest,
Yes.
they will now not know. So I like where this is going with having a pool of recommendations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can pick what. Cause it's kind of hard to get the right one at the right time. Yeah.
Yeah.
This will be good.
Yeah. All right. So Pizza Hut pepperoni stuffed crust. Okay.
That's a good choice.
Pan pizza. They do different styles of crust, right?
Well,
Or
I
stuffed
don't-
crust probably has.
Stuffed crust is its style.
That's the crust.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. I believe you.
just-
I haven't had it since I was a kid, but that was like
Been years
this
since I've had Pizza Hut, so
nostalgically, that is the place.
I don't know that I've had the Hut since I moved to Lincoln. Actually, it's been all
Wow.
Valentino since I got here.
It was either that or the personal pan pizzas for your bucket coupons.
Oh yeah. We only had Pizza Hut in my hometown too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Growing up,
This
we
is
were
gonna be
pizza.
great.
Yeah.
But we were pan pepperoni black olive. So.
You know how I feel about black olives.
Kodad,
I'm glad you didn't pick
one
that
thing we
one.
have learned on this is Kodad loves black olives.
I'll
Oh.
try any pizza with black olives, but it's not going to be usually. Who knows though? All right, so that wraps it up. Thanks for tuning in. Next week's episode will be Everett. So make sure you tune back in for that. Like and subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications if you want to tune in. Comment below how you feel about Pizza and if you're excited to see us eat it and rate it. Until next time, well, we'll see you around.
Sure. So the other mistake I made in my life was inviting the entire company to my wedding. And as it goes, the other lore is that the day before, everyone realized they had not purchased a present yet. In their defense, no registry was provided because I was lazy mostly.
You shouldn't defend them. They need to defend themselves.
I shouldn't defend them.
No excuse.
And so the afternoon was spent tracking down 15 of the exact same item Turns out that item was a toaster, white, plastic, got wrapped in this like silver and white striped situation. So then they all bring their presents. When we go to unwrap them after the second one, I'm like, oh no, I know what happened. But didn't tell anybody else we were unwrapping. It was another like 3 or 4 before they're like, why are all of these the same? And then there was a stack of 15 toasters that we got for our wedding that were subsequently regifted to every wedding we went to for the next 3 years. Along with another lovely gift, but to share the love.
And you're out of these toasters today.
We are out of the toasters. Unsurprisingly, about a month after we gave away the last toaster, which we did consider holding on to, the first one, which we did use, broke.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. So
Did
then I had to
anybody-
go buy a
Toaster.
toaster.